Hi. I'm sorry I started a little early, but I hope you can hear me properly. This is just like to test to make sure everything's working in order. Um, and I think we'll start. Hi, guys. So we'll start at 8 o'clock sharp because I just want to wait for other people to join. In the meantime, if someone can just give me a thumbs up or an indication that the sound is fine and the connection's fine. So great. So there is a little question section down below, and you guys can, I've already noted down a lot of questions that I had gotten so far. So if you still think that you want to just make sure that I cover your questions, just put in your question there so that I can take it up during the session and we can discuss that. So there's a little question mark thing below. So great. Thank you. Nice to see you, Arzu. Thank you for letting me know that you can see me. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait till more people join because it's still early. We still have about 6 minutes to go. So in the meantime, like I mentioned earlier, you can put in your questions here. I already have a few questions here, but if there are any more questions that you want me to particularly cover today, you could just put it down, write it down in the question mark thing there. So it kind of gets separated from the rest of the chat that's going on, which I think I will probably disable during the live because I don't want to be distracted when I'm talking. It's really glad that I'm really glad that you guys could all join, and this is just a small session basically to let you know about, like, I've been here for about 3 months now, and just to let you know my experience living in Budapest, moving in between a pandemic, and a little information about what my course is and what I do. And it's a very open course, so it's something that probably you could also avail, something you could make use of and just apply. So we're just going to be discussing some general stuff today, and I'm trying to make this into a more of an interactive session. So at any point, like whatever questions you have, you can just put it down there. And yeah, um, I am a little nervous, but I hope that as things set into motion, I'll probably be a little better. And yeah, I think we have 4 more minutes. I'm just going to still wait for people to join. And I'm really glad for those who are already here. So, and I just hope you guys stay till the end. If you cannot, that's all right. I think I will be putting up the thing on my IGTV later on. And so you can just go back to it, refer to it, and if you missed some part of this session, you could just go back to it and refer to it, like I said. So yeah, hey guys, thank you for joining. Yeah, I think I will disable this chat in a while because it's super distracting. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for more people to join. We still have a few minutes. In the meantime, I also want to just say hi to the ones who are here for the first time, who don't know me personally, or probably who stumbled across my profile because somebody shared the post or something. I just want to say hi and I want to welcome you. And I will be introducing myself shortly, but I'm really glad that you could make it here, and I really hope this session's helpful. So. Thank you for your support, Natasha. I'm just reading some of these messages here. And I'm getting questions too, so thank you for that. Also, some of the questions that you had sent me in the days that followed up to today, I have had a friend who's kind of noted those questions down and is posting them as questions. So though your question might not be described here verbatim, it's basically accounted for. And I'm like, whatever questions you've sent me so far, they will probably be included in one form or another in the course of this. So, and thank you so much, Aina, for really stepping up and helping me to do this. I'm just going through the questions that I've gotten right now. Great. Okay. So I think we can start in a minute. Okay, so I think I'm going to start. Just a short introduction about me. So I'm Ishita, and I'm doing my master's here in Budapest right now. And this master's, the name of this course is called MA Social Integration. So it's a social sciences based course, and it's very interdisciplinary. So my course has components from education, from psychology, from anthropology, and like just like an amalgamation of all these things. And we kind of like the things we study about are like minority rights and conflict resolution, and just like facilitating an intercultural dialogue, for example, or human rights protection, etc. And it's just, I feel like it's a very nice continuation to my earlier masters, because this is my second masters here. So a little bit of an educational background for me. I just completed a masters this year from this in Hyderabad, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad. And okay, I'm just, give me a second. I'm going to okay. Yeah. So I completed my master's from TIS Hyderabad, and it was this year, and I did it in rural development and governance. And my dissertation was actually on the Rohingya people, the Rohingya community in India, and their identity and their development. So for me, this is like a very nice continuation to that. And this is my second master's. Actually, one of the questions that I had gotten was, how does one justify doing a second master's? So I think that is something that's very, very pertinent, and I will be going over that too today. Before that, I did my bachelor's from St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, and I did it in mass media with a specialization in journalism. So for me, my education trajectory has just been a lot of discovery, a lot of just like trial and error, but like slowly narrowing down to where I am right now. And I must tell you, like this particular course for me coming here was not so much about being in Budapest or in this city or anything. It was more about the course, because I've had my eye on this course for the longest time, and I applied even 2 years ago, and I didn't really make it. So that actually gave me a lot more experience as to what works and what doesn't work for the application process. So we'll be going over that too. So yeah, that is about me and my course. And um, I think since it's time already and there are a lot of people here, I'm going to just check out the questions that we have. And a lot of you asked me about the scholarship in particular, and just what are the provisions under the scholarship and the name of the scholarship, etc. So I'm going to be getting into that right now. I'm just looking at the questions just to make sure that great. Okay. So, I think I will answer this one question first, which is, what are the provisions under the scholarship? So, the scholarship, the name of the scholarship is called the Stipendium Hungaricum Scholarship. Stipendium Hungaricum Scholarship, and the scholarship is basically a bilateral agreement of Hungary with other countries. And actually this scholarship is open to over 70 countries and like over 5 continents. So it's huge, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And like every year they have about 5,000 international students coming into Hungary and studying, many of them in Budapest, some in smaller cities in Hungary, around Hungary. But it's a really huge scholarship. And actually from India we have about 200 openings every year. So I noted down these numbers, just thought it would be helpful. So every year they have about 50 openings for undergraduate students, 75 for postgraduate, and 30 for PhD or doctoral studies. So those are like the numbers about this of the scholarship, etc. And that's basically what the scholarship is. And one thing I would like to mention at this point of time is that the scholarship, like I mentioned, is open across all study levels, but it is also open across all disciplines. So whether you're interested in the social sciences like me, or if you're interested more in like engineering or something science based, or if someone's interested in the performing arts or business studies or international relations, like you name it, and they have something for you. Because like I was just looking up some facts actually a little while ago, and they have over like 600 individual programs available. Like I know people who are even doing like a commercial flying course, for example. So that's why this course is like vast. So if anyone is looking for a study abroad experience, this is a good place to look at, because the provisions that I will discuss shortly are pretty great. And also it's open to a lot of courses out there. Okay, so that's there. Now coming to the provisions under the scholarship. So the scholarship covers all your tuition fees. And what's great is also that not only does it cover my tuition fees for the mandatory classes that I have, but also it opens up all other courses for me as long as I'm eligible to take that course. So even though, for example, I am from the Faculty of Education and Psychology, I can take a course from, say, the Film Studies department. I could take a course from the Social Sciences department. I could take a course from the Communications department. So it's open, like, and that's the best part about the scholarship, that, you know, if you are somebody who just wants to explore a lot of subjects, this is a great place to do that, because your tuition fees and your cost of any other course that you want to take is covered. Besides that, you have a certain stipend or allowance that goes towards housing and some towards your living expenses. So, in Hungarian currency, it's like 40,000 and 43,000 HUF, which roughly translates to about 10,000 a month for accommodation and about like 11,000 a month for living expenses. And this is the provisions that they have for the MA and the BA programs. So which is roughly about 20,000 a month that they give you. For the PhD, the stipend is actually a lot more, which is it's like, so I can say that the money that we get for the BA and MA program is probably not completely enough to cover all your expenses. So which is why you might need to supplement a little bit from yourself, unless, you know, you can live within that. Like, for example, if you find an accommodation which fits your budget, or if you're living in the college dorm, etc., it's probably enough to cover all of your costs. But if you want to get a flat for yourself, etc., you might need to, you know, supplement the tuition with some extra money. And besides that, like I mentioned, like, you know, it's a huge program, and it's available across all disciplines, available for all study groups, etc. And I think, talking about Budapest, like, I okay, I'm just going to look at what other questions there are. Okay, so there was this one question about how many students from India get selected every year. So I think I've answered that already, that we have 200 openings for students from India, and 50 from undergraduate, 75 from postgraduate, and 30 from PhD. The number doesn't add up to 200. That's because there are 5 scholarships for translation studies, etc., and about 40 scholarships for postgraduate research, which is like a part-time thing. But I unfortunately don't have enough information about that. But if you are interested, I could send you contacts of people who might be doing something like this, so it could help you out in that sense. Okay, so okay, there is one question that are applications for the scholarship open and what is the last date? So the applications for this program are open right now, and the last date for applying for the program is 16th January 2021. Okay. Um, okay. Let me see. Okay. What is the admission process, eligibility, and scope for doctoral courses? So there was this question, and there was another question which said that, you know, they have not published any papers, etc. So are you eligible for this scholarship, etc.? So I will say that any kind of writing, any kind of published material, etc., does do a lot in favor of increasing your chances of selection, but it is not mandatory. So, for example, for doctoral studies, I know that along with your motivation letter, etc., you need some recommendation letters, and you also need uh, to submit your proposal for your studies or your research. So the application process, I would think, is a lot more streamlined than you would find elsewhere, or, you know, when you're applying to another university. It's a lot more streamlined. And okay, let me just, okay. So that's the procedure for the doctoral studies. And there is this one website that has information about the scholarship. It's that one portal that you would go through for your bachelor's, for your master's, or for your PhD. So whichever level you want to study in, you can just, sorry, I'm just looking at the questions. But you that is one study portal that's like your go-to for any application related queries, or even to apply. Um, okay. Um, okay, so there was this one question about courses regarding computer sciences or environment or the social sciences. I've already answered that. The courses offered under this program are vast, and there is like, if you think about it, I'm sure it exists. So across all levels. So it's open. Just go have a look. If you're looking for study abroad opportunities, this is a really great scholarship. Um, let's see. Okay, so there was one question saying how many recommendation letters are required. So this is very interesting because when you go to the application portal, every course has very different requirements. So, for example, for me, when I had applied 2 years ago, actually, I had to also submit certain recommendation letters because I was applying to the same course but also to another different course, which is why based on your course selection, your this thing depend like your the things that you need to submit change. So I think, as far as I remember from the 2 years ago when I'd applied, I required a minimum of two recommendation letters. But these are not recommendation letters that someone writes and you just upload it. If I'm not wrong, there was a link that you need to send to your professors or whoever else is recommending you, and they need to fill out a form online, and that's how the recommendation gets registered. So that's the process for the recommendation letters. And but not everybody requires recommendation letter. I think it's mandatory for PhD, but not all master's courses require a recommendation letter. So that's there. Um, okay, let me. Yeah, okay. So Sabiha had another question that is this a 2 years course? So all the master's courses here are for 2 years. And I think that was one reason why I was so interested in this course, because I actually have, for those of you who don't know, I had done a 10-month long exchange program to the US in Arizona back in 2015 or 16, 2015, 16. So there it was like it was an excellent opportunity, but what I realized was it was towards the last 3 4 months that I really felt like I found my a footing for myself, like actually started getting comfortable with the country. But by then it was almost time for me to leave, so which is why I was looking for a 2 year course where I can really immerse myself in the country and really get my way around the place, and not have to just like in and out too fast. So yeah, it is a 2 years course, and I think for anybody who really wants to experience a country and probably travel around in Europe post COVID, it's a good opportunity for that reason. Talking about post COVID, sorry, okay. Talking about post COVID, I just remembered, like, I should mention that Hungary in general, like, why you should probably think of coming and living or studying in Hungary and Budapest is because it's Central Europe, it's right in the heart, and there are some really great things about this city. So it's really beautiful. The architecture is amazing. There's so much history to this place, and um, cost of living. Okay, cost of living is a very important factor which I also considered, because I think like the cost of living is at par with India, and I would also say that like it is probably a little cheaper in like when you talk about rent and stuff compared to like a lot of Indian cities. So which is why even though your scholarship is not adequate to cover like a lavish lifestyle for yourself, it's more than enough, because the country is not an expensive country. In fact, I'm living in Budapest, and that's probably the most expensive, because from what I've gathered, other people living in smaller cities around Hungary are not even paying that much for their rent. So they can easily manage in the stipend that's given. So it's only maybe if you're living in Budapest and you want to probably live alone, etc., where you might have to shell out some money on your own. Otherwise, you probably can manage from the stipend that you've been given. So, okay. One question is, why should I consider studying abroad in between a pandemic? So I think for those of you who probably are wondering why studying abroad is an option you should consider at all, I would just say that stepping out of your comfort zone, going to a different country, trying to manage things, they just like, I know it's a very cliched line, but it's true. It teaches you so much about yourself, and not all of it is good, because you just suddenly realize that the moment you're put under pressure, a lot of your good and bad qualities kind of come to surface, etc. But I think it's a great learning at the end of the day, because it just makes you grow like nothing else. Like I used to always tell my friends when I came back from the US that I think I learned more in the 10 months that I was there in the US than I have learned in like the 3 years or 4 years of education that you have in India or something like that. So I think studying abroad is a great option, and I really feel like everyone should do that. Somebody else could also say, like the quality of education, etc., etc., and all of that is also there. Like, the kind of faculty that you have here, the kind of facilities that you have here, the kind of library access, the kind of research that goes on here, all of that is excellent. But I think for now, I think I'm just going to talk about studying abroad in general as in a way of personal growth. And even in between a pandemic, yes, even in between a pandemic, I would think that it is worth it. Like, for example, right now we have a curfew in Hungary, and it's not the most pleasant place to be in because we need to be back in our houses by 8 p.m. But just, just taking a walk outside and, seeing these little things on the road that makes you realize, like, okay, like these little maybe how their post office works or how the traffic lights work or how the restaurant system works, like all of these are just like small learnings in these most unexpected places. So I think even in between a pandemic, with adequate precautions and knowing what you're getting into, if you just know what you're getting into even in between a pandemic, studying abroad is definitely a great option to consider. Okay. um Okay, there was this question which I think Pithona had asked me. I don't know if she's here right now, but what if my current job does not align with the selection of my course? So, the application process here actually has no prerequisites for your like a mandatory work experience or any of that. So that's a great thing because, like I had mentioned, even on my story, while a work experience is a great way for you to kind of be very certain about what is it that you want to do or your area of interest, etc., it is not mandatory. And in my course, for example, we have people who have had tremendous work experience, who've like spent so many years in the field that they are in, and like just have such great hands-on experience. But then I and like a couple of other people, we are absolute freshers. We have no work experience whatsoever, barring some internships we've done. But it's not mandatory for this program. uh, Being a published writer is not mandatory, having work experience is not mandatory. None of these things are mandatory to be on the program. So even if your current job does not really align with the course that you're selecting, that's okay. Maybe you can write about your job in the motivation letter to say that, doing this job made me realize that this is what I'm interested in and this is not what I'm interested in. So it's all about being able to add that perspective into your motivation letter and really convincing the people on the other side that you're really passionate about this course that you've chosen for yourself. So it's okay even if your job does not align with the selection of course. That's absolutely all right, and it doesn't really get in the way of your selection. um okay. Okay, there was this question again, like how many applicants are there from India and how's the competition to get in? So I've already covered this, but I'm just going to go over it once more. They have about 200 students every year that they select. And I think that this is a good point to mention that the selection from India, I'm just talking about India here, is in two stages. So the UGC, the University Grants Commission, is what the scholarship refers to as the sending partner. So if you actually go onto the website, you will see that they keep mentioning something about a sending partner. And this is the UGC for India. So the application process for Indians is in two stages, where in the first stage, you are supposed to first of all submit your application online, but then have the application sent to UGC also along with the form that they also have you to fill. So firstly, you have to get selected from UGC, and only if the UGC shortlists you, selects you, is that they forward your name to the Hungarian authorities, which is the Tempest Foundation. So that's why the selection process happens in two stages. And there's a lot to break down here, and like that's another thing, which is why I wanted to do a session like this, because I wish somebody was there to kind of guide me, because it's a little confusing, it's a little overwhelming, because information is not very easily available, at least from the first part of the selection, which is the Indian part of it. So yeah, it's in two stages. And if actually like if anyone after this session is really interested in applying for this scholarship in particular, I have some idea, like I have some thing that I have in my mind, but I don't know if I'm going to go through with it or not. But if you are interested in applying for this program in particular, this scholarship program in particular, please DM me and let's work something out, because I think I would like to also offer some sort of a personal one-on-one mentorship, or like help with your motivation letter, or just with like walking you through the application process. So if you are interested in applying for this program, please get in touch with me on Instagram or WhatsApp if you have my number, and we can figure something out for like personal one-on-one mentorship or more details about the scholarship, etc., and like choosing your course, etc. So yeah, that is the question. Okay, let me see. Okay. There were some questions which were pertaining to just study abroad in general in terms of how to choose a country or how to choose a course or how to choose a subject. And I just want to give a small disclaimer at this point of time that I am also a student and I'm by no means a study abroad expert or anything like that, because I gather that like some people probably have come onto my profile and don't really have a background as to who I am or what I do. But I can probably guide you really well about this scholarship program because I've gone through it myself. But beyond that, I really am not well versed with what else is out there, or haven't done an exhaustive research to be able to properly guide you. Regardless of that, if you still want some guidance about how you could probably go about looking for courses, um, send me a message, because when I was looking for courses, etc., there was some good resources that I came across, etc., so I could just pass them on to you, which could probably help you when you're choosing a course if you do want to study abroad. So yeah. Okay. Okay. What is the admission process for people graduating in 2022? Great. So, okay, I think before this, I should mention one thing, and I'm going to like stress on this again and again. This is super important. So just bear in mind that, um, like I mentioned, the selection process is in two stages. Now, while the program, like the Hungarian authorities, do not require you to have completed your degree. So, or your qualifying degree. So, for example, if I'm applying to a master's program, the online scholarship portal has the option of you actually uploading your mark sheet even in till August. Okay, so you could be in the last semester or the last year of your bachelor's and apply for your master's. They allow that. However, the Indian authorities do not have a provision for that. So the Indian authorities, one of their criteria for selection is that you should have completed your qualifying degree. And actually, that is why when I had applied 2 years ago for the program, I had not gotten through that time, because the thing was, I was in the last semester of my bachelor's, and that is why my application got rejected outright. So I think this is very, very, very important. Like, I know a lot of you here are probably in the last semester of whatever course that you are doing right now and are looking for options after that. But I'm sorry, but this is just the Indian UGC's rules that they don't consider your application if you've not completed your course. So this is a good opportunity for anybody who's probably working right now and is exploring to study more, or has like had a gap year, or like in my case when I was doing a second master's. So that is why when I was applying to the Indian authorities, I did not even tell them about this current master's that I was doing. I only showed them my bachelor's certificate, and like all of that was done only on the basis of my bachelor's certificate, because I didn't want to complicate things. So just like, that's something very important, that if you are still in the degree, enrolled in the degree, and are going to complete that degree in the future, the one that is the qualifying degree necessary to for the subsequent study program, you will not be eligible for this course right now. And that's not the Hungarian authorities rule, that is the UGC's rule. And that being said, what is the admission process for people graduating in 2022? I am not sure if you're still on, and I don't know what you mean by graduating in 2022. Like, is this a master's or a bachelor's? But what I can tell you is that if you're graduating in 2022, um, November or December 2022 would be a good time for you to apply for this program, because like I mentioned, if you're applying for a higher degree, but if you're applying for, say, a double master's, if you're doing a master's right now, in that case, you can apply even in 2021. You can apply for this program even in 2021. That's what I did. So I applied last year in December for another master's, and I like, what I had to show was my bachelor's, which I had completed. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Can you give a general guide to selecting courses, universities, and countries? So About this, I will again say that I am not a study abroad expert, so I really can't give you too much information about how to go about choosing your courses or choosing universities or countries, etc. But if you are interested in study abroad options, you can write to me. I can share some resources with you. That being said, I think there was another question about how to select courses in this study program because somebody mentioned that that what all courses are available, for example, this question. So for this, I will say that there is, I can share these resources with you again. If you are genuinely interested in applying for the program, write to me. I can share with you the resources required, the websites required, because I just saw there's another question asking for particular websites and resources, and unfortunately Instagram doesn't allow me to share links, etc. So I can't really do that on Instagram. But if you are eligible, and if you're really interested and wanting to go through with this entire process, write to me and we can discuss some one-on-one personal mentoring sessions also. That being said, what all courses are available? Like I've mentioned, they're available across all disciplines, and my university is just one of the 25 plus universities that are participating in this program all across Hungary. So it really depends on the choice of program or the area of study that you want. For example, my university is really great for humanity related subjects, but there are other courses, like there are other universities which are better for science related courses. So it really totally depends on the area that you are looking for right now. Okay. Um, what are your future plans after completing the course? I think that's a question that makes me super nervous because I really don't know. I'm somebody who really takes it one day at a time, and somehow things have always just fallen into place for me. So I'm just counting on that. But I think generally, I would say that for me, coming back to India is definitely a big option right now because, like I mentioned, I've already got a master's in rural development and governance, and that was a very India specific course. And this course helps me, understand minority issues or, facilitating communication between minorities and majorities or minority identities, etc. So I think that India right now is a very up and coming place for a course like this because we have subject experts in development. And actually there was another question regarding development in like a junior of mine from TIS, so this is also for you that we've studied pure development and developmental issues, etc. But a course like this kind of helps us understand the individual aspect, so from macro you're going to a more micro perspective in terms of what does it mean to be a minority in India, and what does it look like for them to assert their rights? So what does it mean for them to kind of reconcile their position in society, etc.? So I feel that India would be a really great place right now to come back and work in this field. So for me, yes, I am very much keeping the option open of just coming back to India. But having said that, I will also probably want to apply to some organizations here, provided they're doing work that kind of aligns with my area of interest. But I do want to immediately work after this because I feel like I've studied for way too long and I want to do a PhD at some point. But I think I need some work X before that. Like, I just feel like it's time to actually put my theoretical knowledge to some practical use. So, um, okay, what, let me see, other questions. Okay, yeah. This was the question that I was referring to before, that development studies, and can you tell me the best university? So I think a good way to go about this would be that if you are really planning to apply for the scholarship, I can send you the links where you can find the study programs that are available, and you can just using keywords search for the courses. There are a lot of courses in development area and like different niches of development like anthropology, sociology, international relations, so more economics related or more humanities related. So I really can't point out the best university because every university offers very different courses. So if you are applying, like if you're seriously considering applying for this course, I would suggest that you write to me and then we can discuss this further. Um, okay, there was this question. I'll be finishing my bachelor's in March 2022. What would be the ideal time to start with the admission cycle? So, like I mentioned, if you're finishing your bachelor's in 22, you should apply for the scholarship in November, December 2022. So you will have like a 6 to 8 month gap in between that. But I think, I mean, if this scholarship is something you want to do, then a gap really doesn't matter. I think that is something that I would like to advise anybody who's like still just starting out or like just in their bachelor's, etc. That in India we make a big hawa about the gap year and losing time and all of that. It really doesn't matter looking back. Like if you end up in the right place and enjoy what you're doing, I don't think losing 6 months really makes a difference as long as you end up in the place that you really want to be in. So let me see. There was this one question about whether my placement or job will be in India or abroad. I think I've already answered that. So moving on. Mm, do we need experience? Okay. Okay, this is a nice question. How would you describe living in Hungary and adjusting to a new culture and language? So, like I mentioned, we have about 5,000 international students who come to Hungary every year. So, at any given point of time, there is a very rich community of international students, and it's really interesting. Like, to give you an anecdote, like there are these certain hotspots where you will find international students at any point of the day. So like if you like I remember this one time I went with some friends from my class to that place, and I just knew that if I walk around here, I will definitely meet some Indian students. So in that sense, this is a great place to kind of not just interact with Hungarian culture, but also just interact with cultures from all over the world. It's a terrific intercultural opportunity, like a very multicultural space. And for me, I think it's like a double advantage because I'm studying all of these courses regarding culture and diversity and accommodating diversity, and then I'm living in a new country while I'm studying this. So for me, it's like my classroom is one, and then I go out and it's the same thing again and again. Like in my class, in fact, there's just this running joke how we come and kind of narrate our experiences from everyday life and use those as anecdotes or discussion points in our classrooms. So it's been interesting. It's been hard because of the pandemic, especially like with restrictions, and as an international student you're just very scared of breaking some rules or doing something wrong that you kind of didn't understand. So all of that is challenging, but I think like each challenge just helps you kind of understand your strengths and just understand your personality a lot better. So it's a great learning experience, like I've mentioned before. And Budapest is beautiful. Like I remember like my first few weeks here, like I would just be like a little child just looking around in wonder because every building looks fantastic. Like to give you guys a reference, like what probably happened to you when you saw St. Xavier's College or CST, for those living in Mumbai or who've been to Mumbai, what happened when you saw these buildings for the first time? Trust me, literally like 75-80% of the buildings on the street look like that, like, at least where I live. And it's just beautiful. If you are into photography, this is a beautiful place, like such a nice interesting subject, and you just will probably never run out of things to capture. And just if you like exploring, if you're into history, if you're into culture, if you're into art, it's a beautiful city. And yeah, I mean, there's just like a lot of stimuli. I think I would be better suited to answer this question maybe 6 months from today when I've actually digested all of it, because for now it's just like a lot of stimuli, and it is overwhelming, but in the best way possible. um, okay, tips for writing motivation letter, guides on application process to increase the chance of selection. Okay, so this question, I would say that if you, after listening to everything about the scholarship, if there are any more questions about the scholarship, you can let me know. But if you do decide that you want to apply for it, and mind you, the deadline for it is 16th January 2021. So if you do decide to apply for this, send me a personal message on Instagram. And if you want more details, and if you are also looking for like personal mentorship, or you have some very specific questions, etc., just write to me, because then we can discuss this out of the Instagram live platform, so that way I can actually send you guys links, or like answer your specific queries. So just write to me if you do decide, if you're eligible, and if you do decide that you want to apply for this program. Okay. Okay, there is this one question, that what were the programs you were looking for apart from the one that you're currently studying? So, I think what I applied for is probably not as relevant, but what I would like to point out with this piece of information is that when you're applying for this program, you can select two courses. So you have your first preference and you have your second preference. And most of the times, what like the website advises is that be very certain that your first preference is what you really want to do, because you will most probably only get your first preference or the first choice course. So, but just letting you know that, there will also have to be that sort of a decision made by you where you have to choose the two subjects that you're really interested in and apply accordingly. And that's very important. Like the choice of your course is very important when you're during the application process. What is the selection interview and visa process like? Okay, great. So I had mentioned that, one second, what's the time? Okay. So I'd mentioned that the selection is in two stages. So if you get selected from the Indian authorities, the next stage is when your application gets forwarded to the Tempest Foundation, which is the foundation here in Hungary, and then they do their selection. They look at your motivation letter, your recommendation letters, and like your previous experience, etc. And if they like select you, then your application gets forwarded to the university, and at that point of time you will actually have a interview with your university or and your faculty in particular. So in fact, the first time I interacted with my professors who was teaching me now was during that interview. So again, every course has a different interview process or exam process. So like one course that I applied to wanted to test my subject knowledge, another course that I applied to wanted to just test my English knowledge, and like there are some courses which might actually have a written exam. But let's cross that bridge when we get there. I think what is more important right now is to be like to maximize your chances to get selected from India. And unfortunately the UGC is not very clear on what grounds do they make their selection, because like you can have two applicants who both put in as much hard work and make sure that their applications complete everything, but one might get through and one might not get through. So there's a little lack of transparency, I would think. Like that's my personal opinion. So I think the real challenge is to get selected from India and like to kind of emerge victorious with all these people applying, with our population. Like there'll be a lot of people applying. So I think the main challenge is crossing this level where you get selected from India, and the rest, if you can cross this, the rest is, I feel, much easier. Okay, I have some new questions here. Okay, can you tell us the name of the website or the portal that has all the information? I wish I could like send you guys a link or something, but the name of the scholarship is Stipendium Hungaricum. You can just Google it. You Google it, you will find everything. But if you are still lost, just message me. I can again help you with that, and like send you detailed information. And I have like I was thinking I could probably just set up some sort of a WhatsApp group, etc., for people who do want to apply, and I could just answer queries there. But for that, you guys will have to reach out to me and let me know that you're interested. So all of these details, if you reach out to me, I'll be happy to provide you with that. But if you just want to know the name of the scholarship, it is Stipendium Hungaricum. So Stipendium Hungaricum. So just Google it. Even if you misspell it, it's okay. Autocorrect, it'll work. So you'll find it. It's not a very obscure scholarship, so you shouldn't have any problems with that. Yeah, I think okay, yeah, thank you for that. I forgot about that. How do you justify a second master's? Thank you for that question. I think I for a second felt very personally attacked when I saw that question, because I am somebody who's doing a second master's, but I think that's a very important question. So, a second master's, there could be a variety of factors here, okay? So, you might be somebody who has a very clear cut idea of what is it that you want to do. So, for me, a part of the reason was that, like when I had gone to the US, I had studied these courses very specific to culture and like intercultural communication or cross cultural psychology, etc. So for me, I kind of developed this interest in studying interculturalism or multiculturalism, and I, even after I finished my bachelor's, I was looking for courses that could kind of offer me that, and we don't have anything like that in India. And that was the first time that I applied for this particular master's. So for me, it was that there was a need to study something which was not offered, and that is why I went with the option that was the next most appealing thing to me. And I absolutely loved my course and TIS, and like I really grown as a person, but there was still that void somewhere that, I also want to know this thing. And like even my dissertation and test was, about the identities and culture of Rohingya people. So it was like a mixture of rural development and development in general, but also culture, etc. So for me, this course just made a lot of sense for that reason, because I knew that whatever it is that I want to do in the future is probably going to be an amalgamation of development and something to do with culture or minority rights, etc. So that's one um, explanation. Second thing I can tell you is that maybe you just want to study abroad, because so for example, when I graduated from this, now I had a nice job, and it was a gamble. I had been placed, and it was a hard decision to say that, okay, I'm going to not join this place, and I'm going to go to a new country in between a pandemic. But what I like sat down with my family and we realized was that probably this is the only time in my life that if this is something that I really want to do, this is probably the only time in my life that I can actually just leave everything, get up and go. And sometimes it doesn't have to be that well drawn. If this is something that you really want to do, if studying abroad is something that has always intrigued you, and if you find a course that really again intrigues you or just excites you, just go for it. And learning never goes waste. And just that, and even now, like, I'm doing a second master's, and it's super interesting because I'm not the only one who's doing a second master's. I have like two or three other people who have done a master's at some point, or like come with a lot of work experience. And I can say that everybody gets something from it, what they're ready to get at that point of time. Okay, I need to be more articulate. What I mean is, like, it's like, it's like reading a book. When you read it for the first time, you get something. You read it the second time, you get something else and something more, and you're just amazed at how I never got this the first time that I read it. So I think education is a lot like that, because it's so vast. What we're studying is so vast, and there is so much scope to really go into the depth of whatever it is that you're studying. And at any point of time, whether you come with a lot of work experience, whether you're a complete fresher, whether you've done a master's before, whether you haven't, it doesn't matter. Everybody just gets from the course whatever level they are at, and that's great. So if you just want to study abroad, if you want to live in Europe, this is a great, 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 great scholarship for you to actually experience what life looks like here. And yeah, there is. And we're all like, we're all blessed that we have the opportunity to even consider this. And if this is something that is in your mind, whether something you really want to do, if your heart desires, just go for it. Like, I think that's the only justification that you need. So yeah, and let's see what else, if I've answered all your questions. I think I think that's about it. And yeah, if there are any other questions that I have not been able to get to, I think I'm just gonna open the comment section now. So you can write it in the comments, or you can write it as a question. Yeah, if there are any other questions, or we can end today's session. And like I mentioned, that just write to me if you are seriously considering applying for this course, and if you are looking for a more personalized approach where you probably need one-on-one help with your motivation letter or just the application process, or you need guidance, because it can be super overwhelming, and like there's just like a host of information out there, and it's just you don't know how to kind of filter through that. So since I've gone through this entire process before, I'll be happy to kind of guide you with that. And just write to me, send me a message, and maybe if there are a lot of people who are interested, I could put you guys in a WhatsApp group and we could try and figure something out. Is there a written exam that needs to be given in the first stage? That is no. So in the first stage, which is from the Indian government, there is no written exam. But yes, you need to kind of download your entire application that you submit online in the portal, and that also has your motivation letter. So I would think like your motivation letter is super important to kind of convey who you are as a person, and why this course interests you, and just so that is what is your ticket in. So that is like your entrance exam, you could just say that. But there is no entrance exam at the first stage. In the second stage, you might have it, you might not have it, depends on the course that you are choosing. And yeah, I hope that was helpful. And thank you, Sabiha, for attending. I'm glad you found it helpful. If there are any more questions or comments or anything, if not, we could probably end this session and you could write to me if you want to apply for this. Um, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone who came here. And I'm really glad I could be of some help. And if there is something that comes to your mind later on, which you forgot to ask right now, just write to me. And yeah, just write to me. Just write to me because I'm sitting at home and there is a curfew going on. So I'll happily reply to everything. Just write to me. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys found it helpful. Um, yeah, hi. Hi, Kushi. Yeah. So if that's all, if there are no more questions, then I think I will end this live. And it's almost 45 minutes. It's been almost 45 minutes. So yeah, that was brilliant. Thanks, love. uh, thank you so much. And yeah, let me know if you think of anything else, if you need further information, whatever it is. How's Europe? Europe's beautiful, though I don't like, in some ways, I keep, every now and then I keep grumbling about how I'm not really experiencing Europe completely because or from what I've heard, Budapest has like a great nightlife, etc. Ah, which is another thing I should probably mention to you guys that what one thing I really like about the course here is that um, it is I really like how much they respect the fact that as a student you have a personal life. Like we don't have that in India at all. Like, you're expected to be answering your emails and doing stuff even on the weekends. But like my weekend starts on Thursday evening. I have no classes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's great. And like even teachers, when they assign some homework for the weekend, they'll just be like, once you get over your hangover, something, something, something. So, like I really like the fact that they respect that you have a personal life and that they understand that students, the only business they have is not to only sit in between their books and study. And also that like Budapest is supposed to have a really thriving nightlife. Unfortunately, a lot of that has been impacted because of COVID. So, but I did get to see a lot of that in the first 2 months that I was here, because the restrictions have come into place just like less than a month ago. So I did get to see some of that, and it was amazing. So Europe it's really fun, and yeah. I think there was a question about doing research in the School of Education and Psychology. Okay, so that is the faculty. For those of you who need context, that's the faculty that I am in right now. And um, I don't know if by research you mean PhD or what, but I mean, there are a lot of PhD students that even we interact with on a regular basis. So there are a lot of options for PhD, and like the faculty here. So my faculty is really small. So there, it's very close knit. They're very helpful. So if some of you want to apply to my faculty in particular for PhD, for example, let me know. I could even put you in touch with the faculty. Like I could do that from my end. So you could kind of take their help to narrow down your research topic or something like that. So yeah, and I'm that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't quite understand your question whether by research you meant education and psychology, but if you're talking about just like, oh yeah, that's another thing I should mention, that because we're all coming from very different countries in this course in particular, because I can't speak for other courses, but because my course is about multiculturalism and just like exploring culture and identities, etc. um it's very open ended. So what I really like is that all these little experiences that we all bring to the table from our different countries, and like all the experiences that we've had, it's all so appreciated. It's so valued, and there's so much space given to our individual experiences. And it's really interesting how something that you thought was just like everyday commonplace things, you bring it into the classroom and you narrate that experience, and then somebody else kind of interprets it in a completely different way, and you're like, hey, I never thought of it in that way. And I think because of that, I have kind of come to appreciate or look at Indian politics, Indian society in a much, I don't know, like a more holistic manner, because I am observing it from the outside, like the fish in the water thing. So that too, like at least for my faculty, because somebody mentioned my faculty's name, like my faculty in general, like they really welcome all your experiences and give you a lot of autonomy in terms of your research interest and what you want to work on or what you want to do with these subjects that are being taught to you. So I think that's great, like the amount of freedom and autonomy that you get. Yeah. um okay, thank you, love. Such a nice cheerleader. um yeah. um there are still some of you here. If you have any questions, shoot, now is the time, or write to me later. And if there is nothing else, I'm going to probably say bye bye and end this. Okay, wait, let me just make sure I covered everything because I wrote down a few things before. Um, yeah, I think we got most of this. Yeah. I think, yeah, okay, Shiva, about courses in environment and development, there are a lot of courses available in that department. Environment, there definitely are. Just write to me. I can direct you to the study finder where you can. So okay, I should probably mention this. When you go to the study finder, you just need to put in some keywords and all the courses remotely related to that pop up. So it's very, very streamlined in terms of helping you look for a course. So just write to me, Shiva, so I can send you the link for the study finder or the program finder, whatever. And there definitely are courses in environment and development. There are courses for everything. That's what I'm saying. Like imagine, like my course is, it's such a niche subject. Like it's such a niche subject, and the it's there. Like if there's something that you're interested in, for sure there is something out there. I have like I said, there are courses in the science field, there are courses in like business administration, etc. There are social sciences, there are performing arts. I know people who are doing music and dance, contemporary dance, etc. There's that. And there are courses in like filmmaking, photography, etc. There are courses in like, if anyone wants to, I don't know, like commercial pilot, there are courses in that also. So just think about what you want to do and just look it up. I'm sure you'll find it. It's across all disciplines and across all study levels also. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I hope I haven't missed any questions. And yeah, if there isn't anything else, I'm okay. What is the scope of doctoral studies in political science or sociology? I had actually answered this question a little while ago, but I'll just quickly go over it. There are programs for PhD that are available, and because like from India, let me look that up again. Yeah, there are 30 positions for PhD from India, and political science, sociology, yes, definitely. Like if you, that's the area that you're looking for, you will even find something in my faculty, because, or maybe even the faculty of social sciences, any of these, you could definitely do a PhD. And I know a lot of postgraduate students. In fact, my one of my flatmates is a postgraduate student, PhD student as well, though his field is different. But what I'm saying is, there is a lot of scope there. There is a lot of autonomy in choosing a research topic, etc. If you are looking for PhD options at this point of time, and if Budapest sounds like a great option for you, just just send me a message and I can send you more details about this. And yeah, there's a lot, just you just need to look into it. And yeah, and yeah, put this on my IGTV. Yeah, I am thinking of putting it on my IGTV. I am sounding like an influencer. Wow. But yeah, I'm going to be putting this up because I know some people who couldn't really make it today, time constraints. So even for anybody else who probably felt like they missed out on something and just want a reminder or a recap or want to go over something that was discussed earlier, just like this will be up there for you to go back to and refer to again. This name of the scholarship, how many people are selected every year, what is the amount that is given, etc., etc., etc. So you will have all of that already in the video, so you can just go back to those parts. And that is why I was trying to do the question answer thing, so that like the questions right there, so even for you to kind of scroll through it, it might help. Yeah. Is there anything else, any other questions, any other comments? If not, you guys can go. Thank you for being here. If not, I'm going to end this session, and I really appreciate all of you for being here. And just, this is the first time I'm doing this, and this was just something that I had in mind that I wanted to do because I felt like it was super confusing for me when I was applying. So I hope I have helped get some clarity for some of you, and I'm available for any other questions. Write to me if you want to apply, and make a decision fast because deadline is 16th Jan. So there are a few things that you need to do in order to complete the application before that. So just hurry up and make up your minds. Yeah. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Janvi. Hi, Pithona. Pithona, I answered your question. I don't know if you were there at that point of time, but if not, I'm going to be putting up this video later. So you can just look for your question again because I answered that question also. And yeah, if not, I'm going to end this session. Thank you so much for coming. Bye. And thank you for being so supportive. Thank you.